It's on now.
Yeah, I figured.
As far as Ted's not here, because I texted him, I said, when I come to the tennis store, he said, that's fine. He did say he wasn't done.
Well, maybe they got pulled out or something. Might have gotten caught over by it before it happens.
Yeah. I figured he had a place out there because I was only
And Jimmy said he was going to.
Okay.
Just reading some.
But you know it was a perfect storm. Our attorney was, going for more.
So you've known Dave Smith back quite a while.
Yeah, probably
He's telling
40
me,
years,
yeah,
probably.
yeah, he said he's known him a long
a
time.
long time. We both were kids.
Sure.
Yeah, a long time.
Well, at least one of you growing up, you've grown up.
I'd like to think so. I don't know. Let's just say I can do everything I used to except for, a little slower. Maybe like 10 years He takes good care of us. He really does. He does a good job.
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll get started. First off, I guess I'll introduce myself. My name's Bill Crisp. I'm a trustee in the village of Cambridge. Fairly new to the community. Been living in things about 2.5 years or so. And I've been on the board. I filled an open position in late April. So, yeah, I'll try. Not really a loudspeaker usually, but anyway, we'll get started. So let's do our roll call.
Trustee Brennick.
Here.
Frist.
Here.
Lockwood. Here. Hollenbeck. Here. Trustee Franklin is on the telephone listening. He's out of town, but he's here listening. I don't know if any other communities posted this as a meeting or just as a forum. Everybody else. Oh, you nailed. No, I was looking at the trustees and President McNally.
Right, forget him.
Hey, Chris.
Hey.
Don't worry, Mark, we won't.
This one.
Alright, I can do roll call for Roxdale, Toledo.
Here.
Cindy Meyer. Here. Graham Halverson. Here. Peggy Zolstar. Here. Alicia Hines. Here.
Any other misspellings?
Oakland.
We have
Okay.
Town of Oakland, Joy Graffin, Ted Bratney, and Sheila Plinkus.
Here.
Would you like to come up to the table? We should make room for some help.
There's room over here.
So,
Yeah.
We have a representative from the town of Christiana and a representative from the town of Lake Mills as well, but not a quorum. I am the town attorney for Christiana and Lake Mills. Eric Larson. I did sign it.
Anyone else?
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Posted the agenda in the upper corner, what the entity communities and conveyed the post office, the Cambridge website, and it was distributed to all of the other municipalities.
Public comment, we have the pre-registration, we had one request.
And it looks like I see one more that I can see. Do you have an orange slip that you'd like to speak, sir?
I was just wondering if I had who to speak.
Oh, yeah, and fill out that slip. We just have one so far. Is there any, oh, Dean, it looks like has one. Is there anybody else? We wanted to get a sense at the beginning here of how many people would like to speak so we could figure out what appropriate time limits might be. So we'll just collect those.
Anybody?
Anybody else want to speak? I can take them.
You just have blank ones?
Yeah.
All right, so we have a total of 3 then? I know you don't have any. Okay, so we just have one. So let's do a 3-minute time limit. Jessica Schultz. If you just want to come, I mean, you can come wherever people can hear you, it's fine.
I'll speak loudly. Okay, I have a few questions. I've been made aware that there are complaints that are made against specific commission members. These complaints have been verified through a public Facebook page, and I'm just wondering what these complaints are about, if they are close complaints that have been leaked, and what the status of those complaints are, and essentially why we're finding out on Facebook from the committee members' spots that these complaints are out there. So, that's my first question. Also aware that surrounding EMS agencies, including private ones, are being vetted to potentially take over EMS, that they've been asked to provide quotes to Cambridge. And I was hoping that you guys could speak further on that, as that would be a huge loss of revenue to the communities that Cambridge EMS serves, taking on a private company or even paying an outside entity to provide EMS services. Also, I'd like to know how, if we source out EMS here in Cambridge, how that's gonna directly affect the fire company, since the fire company is 100% funded by the funds that the EMS brings in revenue-wise to the communities. And this state offers grants and funding for combining EMS and fire services. I'm just wondering why that's not being brought forth as a potential resolution here as an effort to save money, especially for the taxpayers. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody else who wants to speak now? Yeah, one more. Thank you. You can give them a speaker or wherever.
So a lot of you guys know me, I'm one of the paramedics, and not here representing either. I want you guys to understand I come from a long history of murders and things like this happen, okay? It's not fun, it's dangerous, communities get hurt all the time. I don't see what the problem is working together is, that's where I come from, okay?
Sir, can you speak loud?
I'm sorry, we went once, we went twice, then we merged together. The biggest thing is gonna be is getting along, working with equipment, both sides, okay? I'm a fire officer, I have all the qualifications that all you guys do, right? I have all the qualifications that these guys have. So why are we spending money to pay for things twice? Why can't we work together? Have one big happy family per se, right? Why can't we just share trucks, get out the door quicker, make the community safer? We're throwing balls here, that's all we're doing, right? We're going back and forth, he said, she said. Let's work together. Let's get over it and come to an agreement. We're here for all of you guys. That's what we're here for, right? Whether it's your family, I don't care if we're fire or EMS. We're all here for the same darn reason. That's all I have.
Alright, thanks. Alright, anybody else who decided they'd like to speak? If not, we do have comments from, the town chair of Lake Mills who couldn't be here tonight. So, that is Tom Beagle, and I'm just gonna read, the comments that he asked us to read on his behalf here. So, Tom writes, fellow municipal leaders, I am unable to participate in tonight's meeting, but am hopeful that our fine communities can stick together and strengthen our EMS and fire services. I know there has been disagreements on how to move forward, and there have been problems in the past, but it is time to continue for the betterment of our residents. The Cambridge EMS and Fire Commission and municipal leadership can find innovative ways to solve the challenges that lie ahead. The town of Lake Mills believes in both services full-heartedly. In fact, this is why we spent more of our taxpayer dollars to make the Cambridge EMS full-time in our community. We did this for several important reasons. One, the independent contractor that was chosen in the city has been run out of several other communities. There is always a reason why. One of our greatest fears was losing that personalized touch and professionalism that Cambridge provides. The second reason was staffing. The service we had been using went out of business primarily because they could not solve the staffing issue. This is not a unique problem to most communities in the state of Wisconsin. The service that has the ability and ingenuity to keep staffing levels high is a service that will be run at a high level of professionalism and be able to adapt to challenges easier, better, and faster. Thirdly, we believe that being part of the decision-making process is paramount for each community, hence uniting us all. In my travels, I have seen counties take over emergency services. This is an extraordinarily high expense to the taxpayers. It is not always optimal either, since run times can be extra long and the sense of culture can be lost. I firmly believe that the Cambridge EMS and Fire Commission and our community leadership can continue to build something wonderful that will set the example in Jefferson County. In a sense, a new model that can be used in other areas of the state. This is not just for EMS, but for fire protection service as well. We need everyone working together for the betterment of our community residents and parts of Interstate 94 and other sensitive areas. Please stick together and fight through this so we can keep costs at an acceptable level that does not break budgets and keeps our family tight emergency services intact. That personalized touch goes a long way. With this said, please proceed with loving hearts to better the Cambridge emergency medical services and fire to help save as many lives, homes, and buildings as possible in our community. Best regards, Tom Beagle, Town of Lake Mills. All right, so if there are no other public comments that anybody decided they'd like to say here, we'll go ahead and close the public comment portion. All right.
Thanks, Jane. New business, discussion and possible action regarding the current status of committees and commissions, implications and timelines. So a common understanding of the implications of the withdrawal of Oakland and Cambridge, and what implications and timelines are triggers in the IGA. So Lisa,
We have a handout here that we've got for all the members of the municipalities here. The idea behind this is to sort of share what we've talked about, at least as the Village of Cambridge, to sort of explain our interpretation about what happens now, moving forward, given the withdrawal of our two communities. And so we can just talk as a group about, to reach a common understanding about that, so we can think about what comes next. So I'm just gonna pass this out in both directions. Yeah.
done here in the sheet is basically recap the Article 5 of the IGA with the major bullet points and what we believe those are telling us as far as withdrawal of Cambridge and by extension Oakland as well.
All right, there are some that we can distribute among the group, but I'll just share a little bit of an overview for those of you who don't have a copy
Please
yet.
pass
Yeah, go
out.
ahead and pass those out. We just wanted to make sure everybody's on with a common understanding here. So Cambridge, the village of Cambridge and the town of Oakland have both terminated as of the end of 2024. And so this first part here is just kind of our interpretation about what that means here going forward, some of the really key things that we need to recognize as a group. And that includes that as of January 1st of 2025, the remaining 3 municipalities, if they go on with business as usual, will own the land and the buildings and the fixtures in the stations and offices. They would also own all the other assets such as fire trucks and ambulances and other vehicles, firefighting and EMS apparatus and equipment under the IGA. And then in addition, they would own all the debt service, the lease obligations, and the other contractual obligations. That would be the responsibility of the 3 remaining municipalities if they would just proceed. So, sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's great. I guess we can just continue through that. Unless anybody's got comments, feel free to jump in and provide your comments, would be great. Section 5.12 calls for an audit to be completed upon the withdrawal. It will be used to determine the district's assets and liabilities. And the third-party auditor has to be appointed for that. That goes on to talk about calculations and how the values would be determined. All the property and equipment would be valued at the withdrawal date, which would be December 31st, 24. The equipment is supposed to be valued at straight line depreciation per GAAP. GAAP is generally accepted accounting principles. So that's part of why the audit comes in, and they can come in and say this is what the property depreciation value is. Real property owners would be valued at fair market profit value, which would be the land and buildings. It goes on to say that on the withdrawal date, cash and accounts receivable attributable to the withdrawing municipalities shall be held into a separate bank account. So on or about December 31st, the commission needs to move basically 75% of the cash into a separate bank account for representing 50% is Oakland's approximate share of the EV value, equalized value, and Cambridge is about 25%. Those are just approximations. And that money would stay in those separate bank accounts. And then as the accounts receivable is collected, that was due and payable on December 31st. Again, 75% of that has to be deposited into each of those bank accounts going forward. And those funds has to be left in those bank accounts, and it can't be distributed other than to the municipalities. You can't be paying bills. The IGA goes on to talk about once the audit is concluded, withdrawing the municipalities and finalize the value of the assets and EV ratios. And then a calculation will be done. So what would happen is if the audit comes back and says the property's worth cash in the bank, accounts receivable, prepaid, the assets, the land, the buildings are worth, say, and I'm just making up a number here for illustrative purposes, but if it's worth $2 million and there's $800,000 of debt, the net value is $1.2 million, and then of that amount, 50% or approximately would be attributable back to Oakland, and 25% then would have to be paid back to Cambridge, and then there's a couple of different ways that would be done. That's spelled out in IGA. On the other side of that though as well, if it's a negative value, say the property only comes in at $1 million, and the debt comes in at $1.2 million, we're 200,000 short, then Oakland and Cambridge would have to make up their 50% to 25% respectively. So that's the way that's all designed to work out in the IGA. Any questions?
What is the audit trigger? Does that audit start now, so you have a baseline? And if not, if the audit's not till the end of the year, how do you prevent unnecessary spending to preserve the cash or the assets?
So it may be that different municipalities have a different read of this. My read of the IGA is that the withdrawal happens on the date that we actually withdraw, not on the day that we gave notice that we were going to withdraw. And so there may be some problems baked in. You're suggesting that there are some problems baked into that, but I do think that that's what the IGA says.
Does the IGA state something that if essentially the agreement ends with the EMS district, that all of its, like, the department, the crew house, the fire trucks, the ambulances, everything that's owned by the fire commission has to be liquidated?
It does not mention that. That would be a decision of the commission would have to wrestle with what they do with these assets and the debt.
I understand there needs to be a third-party auditor, but I'm assuming making this decision, there was a fiscal thought process involved where you have an idea of what the assets are and liabilities are and all that, to make this a good decision, whether it's the town of Oakland has to pay back money or whatever may be the case. Has that been done on just the level of your guys versus a third-party auditor, which we know has to come in to confirm all that? But I'm assuming you guys have done that. Has that been done, or are you just waiting to see?
We're not getting any financial statements or financial information from the district. I've never seen one since I've been on the trustees, so. From the commission, from EMS Fire Commission, there's been no financial statements, no financial records published, so.
So then, can my assumption be the reason why people are pulling out is to say, hey, we need an audit done because we feel like there's some stuff that's not being handled appropriately? I mean, what we heard on Channel 15, they know stuff. Is that the case?
I guess all I can really say is, from the perspective of Cambridge is, we pulled out after we learned that Oakland was pulling out, and we did not think that our main reason was we didn't think it was financially viable to stay in at that point.
Because Oakland pulled out, or you
Yes.
pulled out
Because Oakland did pulled out, that was what our.
If I could add a few points to that, Michael Van Kloon on behalf of the town of Oakland. So one of the reasons you've already addressed it, why the town considered withdrawing from this district is because there was a lot of ambiguity, or there was a lot of unknowns as it relates to the commission and its financial viability long-term. And because there's been that growing concern, the town took it upon itself to withdraw early because there was a concern that if we continued on, we might not be able to stop the bleeding in time, just because we don't have the information that we need to be able to act as a municipality on a month-to-month and year-to-year basis.
So my question would be, why do we make this big move and then have a third-party auditor, and why not just have a third-party auditor come in and handle the situation? Is it because, I mean, we all know there's something going on, right?
Sure.
And we don't know how illegal it is, or if it's.
Exactly. So that's something that the town of Oakland would absolutely be in favor of, and doing that right now. Unfortunately, the agreement that's in place between the remaining municipalities doesn't set up a structure for an ongoing audit from a year-to-year basis to verify that the commission's doing what it should be doing. And that's something that hopefully, perhaps a resolution here this evening or here in the next couple months, is something that we could address to ensure that this doesn't happen again. And there could be an ongoing audit to ensure the commission is carrying out its obligations as it relates to the district.
So I hear you correctly in saying that the commission could come back together with 5 municipalities if there's an agreement to do things fiscally responsible with having an auditor involved that's a third party.
That's correct, but it would likely require a new agreement between the municipalities to do that.
Thank you.
And that is the town of Oakland's position as it
Yeah,
relates
I
to
mean, I
answering
just-
that question,
I find
just to
it
clarify.
completely interesting that we're in a situation right now where it's pull up. I don't understand why it just would be a common business practice, best practice, to have an audit done fiscally every year, just to make sure that with the 5 municipalities involved, everything's being done right. We already know we've got red flags, because checks are getting signed by people that should not be signing them. From my understanding, and this could be incorrect, because it's rumor based, that there continue to be. And I, as someone who's in a business and stuff like that, am flabbergasted on the fact that it's been publicly noted that this is occurring, and if it's continuing to occur, I find anyone who's in a position to have a say in this to be liable for that, because you're allowing it to continue. And it's just unreal.
The Village of Cambridge has attorneys written letters to the commission asking for resolution to many issues.
So am I now understanding why you guys are pulling up? Because you're like, ooh.
No one's listening to us.
Yeah. I mean,
We've asked and asked.
and so is anyone here that's part of the commission?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I ask why you guys aren't doing your job as far as, doing what needs to get done to keep our community safe?
You wanna start?
Well, I believe that, that we are doing our job. We've tried to have some meetings.
So are you willing to have a
Wait,
third party?
wait, let's not have a situation where you're talking over him, let's
I
let
apologize.
him answer the question.
Yeah. So we just had a very fruitful meeting last night, paid bills, we had some motions made. We are a viable commission, and right now we're trying to strive to keep to that. We think that this IGA is salvageable. We spoke about it last night. But there is a lot of red flags, and to kind of go back and answer one of your questions of why we're, Cambridge and Oakland are making that decision is, per the IGA, there's a certain timeline that you have to make that announcement that you are going to leave, and that's by the end of the year. So we kind of were forced into making that decision because of the red flags that were out there, because otherwise we go on to another year of situations where we don't know what the status of our finances are. So
Okay, so now I'm completely confused. Who's in charge of the finances of the IGA?
we are the fire commission.
I think what may be confusing to you is the commission acts as a whole, and so what you hear from Chris Brunig as a trustee member of the Village of Cambridge, as a member of the commission, isn't necessarily what the commission as a whole would decide. So, he gives one perspective of what the commission should do in a situation like this, but.
So we have so many red flags, I'm wondering why the red flags aren't being addressed by the commission. That's where I guess I'm at.
Our treasurer is right here, and she has addressed them multiple times, and I'll let Sheila speak to that.
Well, attempted to address them. There are members of the commission that agree that there are red flags and that we are not following generally accepted accounting principles. We do not have a separation of duties when it comes to accounting. These things have been going on for a very long time. This is not a new problem. And the newer members of the Fire Commission recognize that and have been working to try and correct some of those things. Unfortunately, we have been met with resistance, and that's caused friction, and we don't get anywhere because of that. And we have been reporting back to our towns and villages. We have issued some financial reports, but those were done. It took a lot of digging and clawing and scratching to get financial reports, just as an example. And I don't like. What? Don't. Okay. We are not following generally accepted accounting principles. We are not, we do not have, well, we do have an interim bookkeeper that we did hire. At the September, we approved it at a September 21st meeting, I believe. So that bookkeeper has been working to enter all the data, the financial data, into a program called QuickBooks in order to create reports that we have not had for a while now. These things are, you know, we have some reports. I gave the Fire Commission Board preliminary 2023 year-end budget versus actual at the meeting last night. I emailed it to them earlier as well, so they had an opportunity to look at it. I also produced a projection sheet for a quarter-by-quarter basis that I now give to these people on our board regularly. So there are some things, you know, starting to come into place, but it's not nearly enough in order to properly manage an organization of this size with this type of revenue and taxpayer dollars and expenses. You know, and there's a lot more to it than that, but I just kind of want to see if that's getting anywhere close to what
Last
you need.
thing I wanna ask is, do
Okay.
you guys have a fiscal policy and procedures? You have a manual that's.
We
If you have one,
yeah.
that'd be nice, if you're following is the second thing, but is there a fiscal policy and procedures?
We have the IGA.
The intergovernmental agreement is what we
The,
have.
the intergovernmental agreement is about the only thing we currently have unless, see, for history and reference for everyone here, historically, or at least for the past several years, the EMS director basically served as the financial manager for the fire commission, which should never happen. Okay, that should never happen. And you know, and we all, you know, we didn't pay attention. You know, we're all in this together. We need to clean it up.
Sheila, what were those numbers for like the year-to-date versus what was actually spent?
We can provide that after the fact.
After.
We'll get that to you after the
One
fact.
of the things, so I don't wanna cut off members of the public, but we did wanna have that public comment for people to raise these issues, just to make sure that we had time for the municipalities who are here together. We've got some pretty important issues, that we wanna make sure that the members of the municipalities have a chance to address. Namely, you know, it would be really great if we could come to some working understanding about whether we are in the realm of 2 municipalities withdrawing, or whether, you know, the reality is that we're gonna be in a termination situation. Because, you know, if we can have enough discussion to at least come to a likely understanding about that, that can help frame the rest of the evening's discussions in a more productive way, I think, because it's a very different future if we're operating within the IGA and thinking about what happens when 2 municipalities withdraw, as opposed to deciding that we want to terminate and maybe create a new agreement out of whole cloth or not. But I just really want to make some space for the municipalities to have that discussion.
So I have a question and I want to get your interpretation. I know what mine is. So the saying that the municipalities have terminated, it's not effective until the end of this year, right? What is your interpretation of, is it an intent to withdraw or is it we are withdrawing December 31st, 2020?
Oh, I think our intention, I'll speak for Cambridge and I'll let Oakland speak, but our intention is to withdraw. I don't
Could you
know.
go back, what I'm saying is, could you come to an agreement and reverse that intention and say, no, we are staying? Or is it, you are done as of 12/31?
You know, I suppose that there's always room for making a new agreement or to reversing that decision if we could come to some agreement and and decided, you know, we could always backtrack if we wanted to, I think.
Commission has to approve it.
Right, right.
I don't think unilaterally, you could say, oh, we're done, we're back in. Commission has to approve it.
Right.
Just my opinion.
But I think it would be very difficult for the village to go back into the current IGA as it is. Because none of the safeguards that, we need safeguards that we don't have today in the IGA because we wouldn't be in the position we are in the administration.
And I think we all know this IGA is old, it's vague, it could use rewrite it. And my hope would be that we could work together to rewrite this IGA and stay together over 5 years.
That's the scenario that we imagined when we, that one of the things that we talked about as a village when we decided to withdraw is that no matter what, even if we were gonna continue among the 5 of us together, that's how we see it happening. But of course, we can't go that alone. So that's one of the important conversations we want to have.
So I can make a couple of statements. First of all, on behalf of the town of Christiana, they have not given me specific direction on any of these questions, and so I can't tell you for sure, but I have heard comments that folks want to try to solve the problems and move forward together. That seems like the better solution. To try to run the commission without Oakland and Cambridge does not seem viable. Another comment that I've heard, Town of Lake Mills also has not given me any specific direction, but I've heard similar comments. And so I think there is an interest in trying to resolve the concerns and see how we move forward together for the betterment of all of our communities.
And just to be clear, I think that the town of Christiana or any of the remaining municipalities, I think to withdraw at this point would sort of require just a new agreement out of whole cloth. I think under the IGA, it would be technically too late for another municipality to jump ship yet this year that would be effective 2024. I think if there were another municipality, or if any of the remaining municipalities didn't think it was viable, I think we'd almost certainly be in a situation of just developing a new agreement from scratch.
Well, I mean, to restate that, it's either terminated, likely terminated, or we've regrouped and we're going forward together. Because I don't think the 3 that remaining, or the remaining communities, I don't think that would sustain.
Yeah, yeah.
The IGA, the IGA states that if the remaining municipalities unanimously vote to terminate the IGA, then the IGA is terminated.
Agreed.
And they don't have to wait that 1 year.
Right, maybe I was imprecise. What I'm saying is, no, one
Right.
more can't jump ship.
One more can't jump ship.
Right, right.
Yeah, just to echo too, or there could be an instance where we end up with one municipality at one point in time as well. That would also trigger the automatic termination.
If I could just say one other thing, there have been many comments that sort of have a assumption behind them that there has been mismanagement. I just want to air the idea that I'm not sure that's universally accepted. I think that there may be some disagreement on that point.
How long, sir, have you been involved in this, and how much knowledge do you actually have of what has occurred? And have you reviewed any reports? Have
I've
you
completed my statements.
So, yeah, and it's a fair discussion to have, but maybe not under this agenda item, because what we really
All
want
right.
to do here is stay
Then
focused
let's move
the
on.
implications. So maybe we could continue this discussion about, the likelihood of municipalities. It sounds like the town of Christiana agrees that at least its perspective, it likely wouldn't continue as just one of three
Well,
municipalities.
again, neither board has met and given me direction on that, but that's the impression.
Don't talk about it.
You know, you asked for impressions and.
Yeah, I
that's
think,
correct.
that's right, and we have to kind of go on impressions in order to make it a productive meeting. So I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth that suggests that, of course, none of the other boards have acted on this to our knowledge. And so, I think that's the best we can do, is come up with an assumption that can carry us through our discussion tonight.
Yeah, can I just, Eric, just one clarifying comment too? With your comments just now, would you say that's for both the towns, both your clients, your impressions? Just, I wanna make sure.
That's loosely my impression.
Loosely,
Yes.
that's all, I just wanna make sure if
Yes.
there's a separating line, we just know
We
that.
heard from the Lake Mills chairman when we started his
Yeah.
letter, and that was certainly what
Okay,
he said.
okay.
Just from comments with other members, that's what I believe to be the case.
Okay.
So Eric, you represent both towns, Christiana and Lake Mills, okay. What's that?
Jane, when the village made a motion and it passed for not to change the 2018 IGA, where is that going to leave you guys?
We didn't vote not to change the 2018 IGA.
Didn't you vote to say you were going to let it expire? And did you spend the
No, we voted to withdraw.
No, this was prior to that, probably in the middle of summer or so.
Prior to that, we voted to abide by the currently written IGA as it was written. No one had ever presented to us an alternative to that, although there were some behaviors that were happening that weren't by the IGA. But our statement was just simply a statement that we are going to be following and working per the current 2018 IGA.
By the way, sorry, has Rockdale had a conversation on I mean, we've heard from the other two municipalities still in the IGA. Has Rockford had a conversation about that?
Well, like I said before, our hope is that we can resolve it and stay together until the smallest portion. So, not Rockford.
Yes,
Much
sorry.
better than Rockford.
Much better than Rockford, yes.
No, I mean, we're obviously the smallest part of the commission. We certainly can't afford to continue if there's no Oakland and Cambridge. So I think all of our hope, we speak with you guys, but all of our hope will be that we can come together, revise the IGA, and move forward as a five commission, or five municipality commission.
But also leaving the commission right now would be also very challenging because if the audit happens after we make the appointment to leave and there is debt, we also can't pay with that. So when that audit happens, if there is debt, is there an opportunity to re-enter the commission?
So this is one of the things we were just working through on the logistics of withdrawal. And one of the reasons we thought it was so important to know if we are in a termination situation, my opinion is we can we can just terminate at any point and come up with a new agreement that has a better timeline for us on all of these things. I probably need to do that.
And that's kind of, then I think what you were getting at is, we don't know what the financial implications are, so that decision to withdraw has a lot of dependencies and a lot more complexity.
Yeah.
As far as the IGA is concerned, is it mostly the commission aspects and how the commission is operated that are sticking points with that? I mean, obviously some of the officer things also came into play. But what would be the process of going through it to see whether or not we would be able to come to an agreement? It seems like, has all the discovery been done to know what are the sticking points with that?
I can speak for the town of Oakland on that. There's a lot of just missing information from the commission, which has caused a lot of heartburn on our end, and it prevents any kind of predictability from just a long-term budgetary standpoint. To answer your question in short, I would say a lot of this is rooted in the commission and its operation, and the lack of oversight that all the municipalities have of the commission in order to really identify, one, are things being done how they should be, and then two, are they being done correctly? And I don't believe Is the president for the commission here tonight? I'm sorry, I'm new to every.
No, he's not.
Oh, so the committee, okay. Interesting. If we can fix how the commission operates, the individuals that are on the commission, I think we can make a lot of headway. And I think there's some other aspects that if we're gonna redo this thing, we can tighten some stuff up in order to communicate better with one another and also the commission, and have a really good approach, operate more like a business should, as opposed to just poor government.
And to add some historical context to this as well, because some folks out there still might be a little cloudy. There are 3 commission members that have just been on the commission for what, Sheila, maybe
Since April.
And myself, I replaced Mr. McNally, and that was, I don't know, when was that? August
End of
timeframe?
July. First meeting was August.
So anytime you have new people that are in a new commission or anything like that, for me, I have a military background, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my documents, right? Because I'm not going to, oh, this is how it's always been done. I'm not a believer of that. So what are our engaging documents that say how we're supposed to do business? Well, for us, our engaging documents was the intergovernmental agreement. So I am going to, and I promised my board this. I promised once I replaced Mr. McNally that I would go by the IGA, step by step. So I'm looking through it as well as Sheila's looking through it. Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing this per the IGA? This is our document. And to answer your question, Dave, we did vote that we wanted to keep the IGA as it's written because it's been bastardized, for quite some time. And that lone responsibility is on the commission. We have to when I say rein it back in, we have to rein it in based on what the IGA states. If we did that was my only argument, is let's start doing business as per the written document. So hopefully that clears up some confusion out there.
Jane, I'd like to just also talk about the fact for Rockdale. In our withdrawal, and previously Cambridge has also laid out dispute resolution process and asked for that, and we've been just suitably ignored. And Cambridge worse so. So
mediation.
We've tried and have put forth things that can be addressed and have not been addressed. I see no effort coming that way, which makes me, I have a lot of experience running IGAs and with written documents this way. This is among the poorest ones I've ever seen. But we've tried to work within it and offer, say, please, work with us, here are our issues. And I'm sorry, I'm just not there.
I think that is important to me, at least, is more ability to enforce whatever agreement that we have, because right now we know that month after month after month, there are not treasurer's reports that are, and when, if they're not being created right now, when it says that they're supposed to be, if we say again that there are supposed to be treasurer's reports, what's the difference? What are we going to be able to do for oversight of that and remediation for, those things continue to happen?
Just to speak, so I joined, I think it was right around the same time Megan came commission and was appointed to, so it's a lot of discovery time in the first couple of months when you're hearing stuff, right? And it's like, I'm committed to doing things right, going back to the IGA, but it's years and years of mismanagement. It doesn't get fixed overnight. Sheila has put in a lot of time. We saw our first solid financial statement last night. It needs a little bit of work, but digging up all the historical over all the last how many years is no small feat at all. So I think there's new blood, if you will, and all of us, all 5 of us, are invested in trying to get this figured out. A lot of the stuff that everyone's hearing that's coming to light, it's great that people are learning about it and are involved and are curious and asking questions. You should be. But just make sure you're validating your information, right? Ask any of us, we'll tell you what we know. There's a lot of progress that's been made just in the last 6
reporting issue. Back earlier this summer, our board had Gene write a fairly lengthy letter to the commission with all the points that we felt they were not following the IGA. And after a long delay, we got a response back, basically said, they were following the IGA and we were wrong. So there's basically, right? And so we've got, it isn't just financial reporting, it's, you know, signing contracts without approvals of the commission for one is big in my mind. Pretty clear that they should be coming back to each municipality before they sign contracts, big contracts. We weren't. And in their opinion, they could do it.
Jim, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you're here representing the town of Christiana. What are your thoughts? I know you can't speak on behalf of the board, but what are your thoughts regarding the IGA and termination versus everybody working together?
Jana, I'm gonna be real honest with everybody here tonight. I came down to listen and take notes. I haven't, obviously I'm not on the commission. I have seen the IGA. I've been to one fire commission meeting. I'm not at liberty to speak on behalf of the township.
Okay, I respect that, thank you.
Any other comments?
The biggest question that I would have for the commission members is, what is the resistance in following the IGA? It seems like we're getting pushback from, I don't know who, but just to follow it. And I would like to know why that is.
Maybe resistance from like the commission members?
Commission members
Yeah.
or, yeah.
I can speak at least from the town of Oakland's perspective. There's a concern that there's not been a good handling of funds. And I think there's some concern if they flash a light on that they're gonna be put in the hot seat. And I can understand can be a problem. Frankly though, I'd rather correct a mistake than just let mistakes continue to build on each other, and then we have even a larger issue. That is my suspicion. I could be wrong, but from speaking with my client and the town board members here, that's where their perspective lies.
I'm just wondering, out of 5 municipalities, how many of those municipalities get any kind of fire department coverage from the volunteer department?
All of us.
All 5?
Yeah, I mean, for the town of Oakland, it's
We
45%?
also, well, it's about 48%.
48%?
We also have contracts with the city of Jefferson to cover parts of the town, and Fort Atkinson to cover part of the town for both fire and EMS. And they actually cover much larger areas than Cambridge. Cambridge covers a little bit more population for us.
And the town of Lake Mills, only 5% of that is covered by the fire department.
Actually, it's
7%?
Yeah.
7%?
I have a question. So, you guys keep on talking about contracting EMS services, you guys in Dalton's district. What do you guys do for fire coverage? Because obviously the IGA is both fire and EMS. Are you guys looking at both sides of the spectrum as well to figure this out? Because you guys are either saying nuke it all and terminate the IGA or work together. But some of you guys are leaning towards one side, towards the other. You guys are focusing on the EMS side. You guys gotta look at both sides of the spectrum, because if you take care of one, the IGA clearly says you gotta take care of the other.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
We're actually only, by state statute, we're only required to provide fire service. We don't have to provide EMS service.
So my question is, are
If you look at it from a fiscal standpoint, that's why we're focusing on the EMS, because who do we pay the most to?
But the EMS is also the biggest revenue generator via billing and stuff like that. Most municipal agencies out there nationwide, career, volunteer, combination, funding back and fund their fire departments via EMS billing and EMS revenue. That's how they afford. So yes, you're right. You do have I say provide fire coverage only, but then you're just throwing money out the window because you're not.
So we're a little bit off. Our
What I'm asking
here,
is,
but
you guys pump up your
I am on the
pumps up.
committee for the village of Cambridge, and we are looking at both for what will happen going forward if the IGA goes away. We just haven't spent our time as much on the fire side as we have the EMS side, but we'll be looking at both. To answer your question. So back to the agenda, item 5B, we've kind of transitioned into that. Any other comments directly related to questions, participation? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.